Hello everyone, this is Amnesia once again. Going to be casting a 1v1 here between our green Terran player Wolver versus the pink Protoss in the top here, Whosyourdad, our returning champion. And just a real quick note here as I'm waiting for the game to get underway. I do want to do something sort of Fun Day Monday style. The idea behind this is that Fun Day Monday is actually one of the things that got me into competitive StarCraft, because I really like the idea of trying out like kind of new, ridiculous, fun strategies that actually taught you things about units you might not usually get. So, for example, this first week here, we're going to be going back to carrier rushes. Let's see. Yeah, so the whole idea is that you're going to rush straight to carriers in your Starbow game, and just see how that works out. It could be proxy carriers, it can be like a carrier defense to get up more bases, but the idea is that you're going to rush for carriers, and it's up to you whether you want to put pressure on with that or not. But that is the only stipulations that you have to rush the carriers. So hopefully as a Protoss player you can learn kind of how effective the unit is when you rush to it, because I think in most games you tend to get a late game and it's actually kind of hard. You know, you might have already won the game and the carriers aren't going against what they like an even economy army of an opponent. So gonna be if you have any replays you'd like to send me where you go straight for carriers, please send them to amnesia.sc2@gmail.com and make the subject Fun Day Monday. And I probably won't actually cast it on Monday. It'll probably be a Tuesday or Wednesday thing. But I don't know, until I come up with a cooler name than Fun Day Monday, then I think we're just gonna stick with that name. And maybe we'll call it Fun Day Someday, since I'll be casting it at a random time. A little bit of appropriate here. Gonna try to kill off this SCV build in the command center. We'll just delay that expansion a little bit while we get our second gateway up here for the Protoss to put on pressure. And now the probe is going to run around the base, try to be as annoying as he can while this Marine tries to chase him down. Refinery just now going down. Let's see if they fix I still can't do control follow. I think I might need to try out the Game Heart overlay here. I have it, I just don't really usually enable it because I'm used to having supplies and resources up here. So I just stick with that. We have Singularity Charge on the way. Just started. Gonna get that Dragoon range out here, and then probably gonna see some really heavy one base Dragoon pressure here. SCV gonna see that there's no expansion. He's gonna walk right up in here, see exactly what's going on. He's gonna see the Cybernetics Core researching. He's gonna see the double gateway working as well, so he's gonna know that Dragoons are on the way. What will he do in response? So there's several different options that Terran players have now in Starbow. You don't necessarily have to rush to tanks. You can get some Marauders out. You can get range so that the bunkers are safer. And then you can get, you could also go for Ghosts, which, you know, I'm a big fan of Ghosts right now in the current state of the game. They were nerfed a little bit, but against Protoss they're still just as effective, especially against heavy Dragoon pressure. You're going to sit there and do that shock charge there on top of the Dragoons and just move your way to victory after that. Factory only about halfway complete though, but I don't know, this Dragoon can still put on pressure here. He can stand here and attack the supply depot. He can stand here and attack the barracks. He doesn't want to go straight for the bunker though, but he's just going to hang back and wait for this Singularity Charge to finish up. It is almost done. It looks like he might have used some chronos on that. Not totally sure. I guess he probably didn't, since he doesn't have the Kiter and Citadel yet. Robotics facility coming down off of one base as well, so he's going to go straight from this Dragoon pressure into some Reaver drops most likely. And both command centers being turned into orbital commands at this point. Going to be able to start using those macro mechanics, and so that will help get tanks in a little bit faster if that's what he chooses to do, help the economy a little bit. Going to mic up the Dragoons a little bit. Singularity Charge is done, so he's going to sit here and attack the bunker from afar. And now the SCVs are forced to be pulled off the line. The Dragoon's going to step forward and try to pick off an SCV, but one does take more damage than was intended, taking some hull damage there. More Dragoons just being streamed down there. We've got Siege Research on the way, one tank about to pop out, and this should help out this push. It's not going to be able to shut it down immediately though, because there are only 4 Marines and 1 tank. With the SCVs repairing the tank and the bunker though, it'll be a little bit costly, but he will be able to push this back. Tank there lining up behind the bunker. Not able to get in range. He's not choosing to lower the supply depot to put on pressure, so he's just going to stay back here. Warp Prism being produced right now, so he can start those Reaver drops as soon as the Reaver is finished. We see 4 Dragoons now just pummeling away on this. He has to put his SCVs back to repair, and there they go. They are going to save it. Just barely, though. So many Dragoons putting on so much pressure. This tank just now getting in range. So that is nice. Siege research about to finish. And a 6th Dragoon here stepping up. This is going to be hard to keep this bunker alive at this point. One supply depot going down so that another SCV can get in there to repair this bunker. And so many resources being spent on this repair, but he is holding the bunker up. He's going to step forward. The bunker is going to take out 1 Dragoon. Siege research is done, so the tank's going to siege up and shut down this Dragoon harass for now anyway. And a couple SCVs going to repair the tank. Very good idea there. And then he's going to get back to mining as quickly as possible. This SCV getting so much scouting information done. I saw him come up here earlier as well, so he's just getting constant information on what exactly the Protoss player is doing. And the Protoss player is throwing down his expansion at this point. I'm not sure that he saw the probe go down there, but he should have a pretty good idea. This is a standard play here. Nice scan, going to reveal exactly what's going on. He knows the Reaver just got loaded up, and we are going for the Gravitic Drive, Warp Prism Speed. All very standard from the Protoss player here. Just a little bit heavier Dragoon focus than some people choose to do, but still very standard is what the word I was looking for. A couple of Dragoons going to be forced to chase this half-health Vulture all the way back. 1 Dragoon being chrono boosted out so we can deal with that Vulture, but the Vulture just parking down here at the close third. And the Protoss player actually going for a quick third base as well. Can try to catch up economically there. Dragoon's going to follow this Warp Prism down here so they can provide support from the low ground should the Reaver find himself in some trouble. And here we go. 1 siege tank in the mineral line, though, going to be able to fire on this Reaver. The Reaver not able to unload next to the tank either because of this missile turret. Really nice defensive posture here from Wolver, and loading a couple of Dragoons up here. A lot of the times you'll see some Zealots come with the Reaver, but this time we're going to have a couple of Dragoons. All of that Dragoons, he's just elevatoring them all up. Does Wolver have any? Wolver has no idea that any of this is happening. He thinks he just shut down the Reaver harass and he's good to go. This Vulture is still parked here, not going to get any information. For all he knows, Whosyourdad's army is back at home. But this is going to be a big push here. Command center going down. Wolver still cannot see this attack coming. And here we go. 3 tanks set up, though. This will be a pretty decent defense. A couple of the tanks firing right now. And a couple of Dragoons getting taken out. 1 goes down. 2nd goes down. Another tank emerges. SCV's repairing this tank down here, and this will get shut down. Big connection there, though. Taking out a couple of SCVs, hitting on the tank as well. And the Reaver going to take a 2nd shot there. Because of this repair, it was not enough to take out the tank, though. The Reaver does get taken out as well as the Dragoons. And that was a big success there for Wolver. Doing very nicely in that defense. 1990 resources to 1225 for resources lost. Taking a look at the income tab, though, the Harvesters is still heavily in favor of Wolver as well, so he's in a great position. This third base will start kicking in soon, though, and at that point it'll be up to Wolver to put on some pressure and punish this greedy play. But it looks like for right now he's just going to keep building more and more static defenses. He doesn't want to see any sort of drop end his game, so he's going to make sure that he has these turrets up in place. Going to repair up this tank as well. Got a nice tank spread all around his base. We've only got 1 back home right now, though, but that will also prevent what happened we saw earlier, where the Scarab connected with a tank and took out the SCVs that were in the mineral line. This probe going down here, I'm not sure what his plan is. I guess he's just going to scout for the 3rd. He's going to put a pylon down to block that 3rd for a little bit. I guess it's actually a pretty good idea, since this is an army comprised entirely of tanks. There's not going to be a lot of damage that could be put out of that quickly. If there was like a group of Marines, they could go down there, stim down there, and take that out real quick. But since we're going mech and we see mostly siege tanks just now starting a little bit of ultra production, that should be alright. This tank looks like it's going to move over here to try to get vision. Should anything try to unload here next to these missile turrets. A couple of Vultures going to attempt to fly out this barracks, trying to land forward to set up a forward wall, but the Dragoons already in place. They're going to start wailing away on this barracks, and he may be able to take it out. There are just not enough Vultures to push out here right now. A little bit of harass done, but the Dragoons moving forward to take out this tank. One volley from the tanks goes down. The Dragoon's getting up close and personal with the tanks trying to get the splash damage down, but not enough splash damage available, and a couple of Dragoons just keep getting taken out. More Dragoons rallying right into the range of the tanks there. This barracks is on fire though. The SCV is being pulled off the line to repair that, and that will stand as well. So another good victory from Wolver here. Whosyourdad putting on constant pressure and Wolver just pushing it away. At some point this pressure is going to, all these minor victories from Wolver will add up. We still see a minor supply lead here for Wolver, but the 3 base economy from Whosyourdad is really going to let him keep up this heavy pressure and not have to worry too much about losing these battles. As long as he can get some damage done in some places. And the Dragoons in the back of the base, a nice idea, able to take at least wound a lot of SCVs. Vultures flying back there, thinking about putting some Spider Mines down, but changing his mind. And we see a nice collection of observers here to see any drops that are going to be leaving the Terran player space. Dragoon's able to take out a Vulture, moving up close to the Spider Mines there, both getting taken out. And we see a couple Spider Mines here at the main entrance of Wolver. We see a Vulture hit squad moving out around the left side of the map here, trying to avoid any scouting by Whosyourdad, but the probe might actually see this, and no, he's gonna barely miss it. Putting one Spider Mine on there just in time. This oh no, he's just on patrol. He's just scouting around, making sure there's no hidden bases he's not aware of. He's gonna make sure that he keeps this economic lead. And one more Vulture getting a little bit assertive there, gonna move out, and this observer able to detect that Spider Mine so they can take it out, and the tank's gonna take out both those Dragoons. Not really a great trade for Whosyourdad there, taking out one Spider Mine and a Vulture for 2 Dragoons. And these Vultures not gonna be able to get into this base at all. Scan going down, seeing this base is completely blocked off, and he's just gonna let his Vultures die here because he is worried about this defense here that also that actually went okay for Wolver there. And this cannon should live here. See, his shield's actually regenerating quicker than the Vulture can damage it. Whosyourdad pulling back a little bit, giving up a little bit of ground as this mech force moves out and pushes and gains a little bit more ground to take his 3rd. Whosyourdad taking a close 4th base here, and the Vulture's actually going to run right past the probe and the expansion to fly in here to the natural, and the Zealot's going to run right past the Vultures as well. A lot of passiveness here from both sides with this Vulture squad. The Zealot's going to try to run up. They're going to soak up all the Spider Mine shots. And here we go. The Vulture's moving into the mineral line, taking out a lot of probes. The probes forced to pull off and defend themselves. The Zealot's coming in from the back, kicking out a couple of the Vultures. And these probes now just getting kited across the main base. Whosyourdad's army has arrived though, so these 3 Vultures will not live for much longer unless these Dragoons choose to move out back south down across the map. One Dragoon in the base going to try to take out the rest of these Vultures, but he's just not fast enough. These Vultures continuing to do a lot of damage. We're seeing 4 kills on this one. That one does get taken out. 8 kills on this Vulture, and he will eventually get taken out as well. Meanwhile, Whosyourdad keeping up a nice contain here outside of the natural of Wolver. He's going to load up a couple of units into the War Prism there. The rest of the Dragoons are going to move forward, but not able to get in range of these siege tanks, only putting themselves in a position where they're getting taken out. Tons of siege tanks sieging up. He's losing tons of Dragoons, just not paying attention right now. And he was able to pull out of there, eventually losing quite a few units there. We see 2 Zealots loaded up here, going to be able to start doing Zealot bombs should the tanks try to move out of their base. But we're seeing almost double the resources lost now for Whosyourdad. He really has to let this extra economy carry him through these stages because he's just not trading effectively, and a lot of these engagements even less effectively than Protoss usually does against meching Terran. A nice surround being set up should Wolver try to move out, but I don't know if there's enough units even though. There are a lot of siege tanks waiting here to be deployed. Some of the siege tanks unsieging here. He's going to move out all of his defensive units. He's got 1 Goliath in the mix. He's got a couple of Vultures. And the engagement's going to begin. The tanks siege up and start firing out at the Dragoons. A couple of the Dragoons getting taken out, being forced to retreat, but all the Vultures were taken out, so all that remains, other than the tanks, are 4 Goliaths and 1 Vulture. But just not a lot of units in general for Whosyourdad. He's going to have to back up and try to just slow the progression of this army while he builds up more and more forces. And the tanks sieging up in range of Whosyourdad, and Whosyourdad losing a lot of units for free there. He's going to back up a little bit more and try to force these tanks to keep sieging up. The Vultures flying in here are going to try to pick off a couple of Dragoons, but they won't even be able to pick off the one The tank does come in and clean up one of the wounded ones, though. A couple of more zealots getting thrown into the mix to be able to take out these siege tanks. There's still not a lot of units. So Goliaths up in front, going to take the brunt of the attacks. And all the Goliaths do fall. A couple more tanks sieging up. The splash damage is going to do huge numbers against themselves. And the Dragoons trying to clear up the rest of the tanks, but they are forced to retreat once again. Some Blink Stalkers and some Templar forming up here, getting ready for this the next step of this push. This Observer able to see everything. 1 Goliath remains. 3 Vultures going to push forward, try to pick off a couple of these High Templar. They are able to pick off 1. The High Templar actually grouping up right in front of the Vultures there. A defiant stand from the attackless High Templar. A couple more Vultures getting picked off. A Blink Stalker getting taken out and getting a little bit overly bold there. And these Vultures just posturing, trying to bait the army into the siege tanks. One tank sieging up in the back. All the tanks now sieging up. A couple of the tanks get taken out. Big storms over top of all the tanks. And the Dragoons trying to clear out more. The storm doing huge amounts of damage to that group of tanks. And Whosyourdad just slowly getting pushed back. Wolver having trouble pushing any further forward, though a large number of his tanks have gotten taken out. And the storm going down, able to take out a lot more tanks. We're down to now only 7 tanks and 1 Vulture. 5 Vultures, actually. Sorry, I missed the ones that have moved forward. And suddenly, Whosyourdad looking in a great position. He's got a counterattack force running over to the left side here. Going to take out this new expansion from Wolver. And a scan goes down to see that Observer, and it gets taken out by these couple of Goliaths, couple of missile turrets going down to make sure no more Observers fly over this army. And he's going to start getting a really strong foothold at this part of the map. And should Whosyourdad open up a path here, he'll have a free, well actually he'd have to open it from both sides, but then he'd have a way to get out there. The only bad side would be that it would open up a second attack path for Wolver to send in Vultures. But he's got a nice Spider-Mine collection here up front with missile turrets, Goliaths, and then siege tanks in the back to cover that. And the Vultures flying back here. These Zealots actually killing quite a few workers here. We've got 8 between them, and the Vulture's going to come back here and finally clean that up. More SCVs transferring over. We've got a 5th base going down here for Wolver as well. So we're now on a 4-base Protoss versus a soon-to-be 5-base Terran. Not a comfortable position to be in. Wolver using this slow push to take an economic gain for the first time this game. Well, I guess other than the very early game. This High Templar moving in. They're getting 1 storm down before getting taken out. More Templar moving in. The Blink Stalkers staying at a distance. But the Zealots moving in there and getting the splash damage down on the tanks. The Dragoons that might be able to clean the rest of this up. He's trying to focus fire as best he can. But the Vultures flying in on the back will protect the rest of these tanks. 3 tanks remain. And a big group of Vultures. A storm going down to try to kill off these Vultures, but doing a lot of friendly fire damage as well. Getting a lot of damage down on these Vultures with that storm though. And the Archons morphing in will scare the Vultures away for the time being. More Spider-Mine fields going up here. We've got SCVs being called down to repair these very wounded units. Only 1 SCV on the field right now though, and he hasn't gone to work yet. And there is a small window here where with a couple more Zealots, Whosyourdad could finally push this back and get this out of here for good, but more tanks are here now. A couple more Vultures getting streamlined in here. More tanks arriving as well. We've got just a steady stream of units heading up into this forward position here. There is a counterattack path available to Whosyourdad, but that would leave his base completely vulnerable, and you definitely don't want Terran units sieging up in range of you. This Archon moving forward against all the tanks, it is going to get taken out. That's a big gain there for Wolver, being able to take on an expensive unit like that for free. See heavier tank focus now from Wolver, going to be sending these over. He's got +1 weapons and armor for his mechanical units. And we've got an Arbiter Tribunal here coming down from Whosyourdad. Going to be able to start putting the stasis fields and counterattacking with the recall. We've got siege tanks going down here over top of the 4th of Whosyourdad. And that's going to prompt Whosyourdad to sit there and going for the attack. He's got a nice arc going on here. The siege, the splash damage not doing a whole lot. The Zealots though stopping to attack the Spider-Mine. Storm's going down on the tanks. And it looks like Whosyourdad will finally be able to push this force back. There's only 3 tanks remaining. The Dragoons move up nice and close to it. The wounded tank sieging up and actually just making his last couple of seconds on Earth ineffective. The 4th has been breached of Whosyourdad, but no units have been able to get in there to harass it yet, and the rest of these tanks in backwards positions that look like they're going to get cleaned up as well. The Zealots scattering all over the place, focusing down separate tanks. Dragoons finally picking off a couple of Dragoon versus Vulture fight going on in the remnants of where the siege used to be. And it looks like another harassment force that I missed was able to move down here and pick off even more workers. Taking a look at the workers' loss count, we see 33 to 29, so it's been very even harassed throughout this game. A big group of spider mines getting detonated on only a small group of zealots. The dragoons moving in here. These spider mines are unburrowed now. It'll be easy to clean those up should the dragoons live, and more dragoons being pushed down here. We see a stream of units. A couple Templar getting sent down here. Going to be able to have a nice defensive posture with those storms, and if he chooses to, he can storm down on these workers too. Although I think leaving them at the entrance here to storm any attacking forces would be most beneficial. We've got siege tanks on the ramp, shutting down mining from this base completely, while one pylon tries to complete. These probes going to go in there and try to do as much damage as they can, but they just all get taken out before getting even close enough to the tanks for the splash damage to take effect. One volley goes down, and he's able to minorly wound this siege tank. But the 4th and 5th are completely shut down for Wolver as well now, so we're back down to 3 base versus 3 base, and that's 1 mining base per player. Got an observer in an absolutely fragile position here between these 2 missile turrets, and a big attack going down here in the middle again. And the zealots just keep stopping to fight these spider mines, but it looks like it won't really matter. The tank's getting taken out regardless. Storm going down on a single tank, and Wolver just leaves the game, not able to produce enough to stay alive at this point. I actually think that he could have hung in there a little bit longer, being able to have the mech army, which is a more effective, kind of cost-efficient army. But he was having trouble keeping up harassment, so he opted to just dip out at that point. And really great game. I gotta say a big thanks to Whosyourdad for sending in this replay as well as the last one. Really great games. Really exciting back and forth. And I'll see you guys next time.